Welcome to Accounting for Law Students. In this chapter, we are going to learn how to answer an accounting equation exam question. We will learn about T accounts and about debits and credits. The accounting equation. Let's try another one. Paid the electricity account by check for 1,230 Rand. Let's look for our keywords, electricity and check. Let's work with our first keyword, electricity. When we pay for things, this is regarded as an expense. Remember that electricity cannot be classified as a purchase because it does not fall under the category of goods, stock, merchandise, or inventory. Therefore, electricity will fall under its own account called electricity, but it will still be an expense and it will still affect our equity. Remember, electricity is not classified as a purchase, but it is still an expense. If we look at the accounting golden rule, we can see that equity decreases on the debit side. Therefore, the account to be debited will be called electricity. We have already seen that this affects our equity by decreasing it, so we will go to the equity column and decrease it by 1,230 Rand. Let's look at our other keyword, check. Whenever you see the word check, you must understand that this is the same as cash. In other words, we have paid the electricity account with cash. Cash affects my bank, and bank is a type of asset. Remember that bank will decrease when we pay something. If we look at the accounting golden rule, we can see that assets decrease on the credit side. Therefore, the account to be credited will be called bank. Bank is an asset and it decreases by 1,230 Rand. Let's try another one. Paid 7,300 with a business check for a computer purchased for the owner's wife. Let's look for our keywords, check and owner. Let's look at the first keyword, check. Remember, check means the same as cash, and cash affects our bank. Because we are paying for something, money is leaving our bank, which means our bank will decrease. Bank is an asset. If we look at the accounting golden rule, we can see that assets decrease on the credit side. Therefore, the account to be credited will be called bank. Bank is an asset and it is decreasing by 7,300. Let's look at our next keyword, owner. When the owner takes something out of a business, we call this drawings. Drawings will affect my equity. Because he is taking things out of his business, it will negatively affect his equity. The fact that the computer is purchased for the owner's wife is of no relevance. It does not matter whether the owner takes money or equipment for himself or for someone else. It is still considered drawings. If we look at the accounting golden rule, we can see that equity decreases on the debit side. Therefore, our account to be debited will be called drawings. Let's go to the equity column now and decrease it by 7,300. Let's try another example. A debtor, N. Corsi, owes the entity 5,500 Rand. Interest at 11% per annum was charged on his 5 months overdue account. Let's look for our keywords. The debtor, N. Corsi, and interest. It's very important to note that in this question we will only deal with interest. This is because 5 months ago when N. Corsi first came to our store, he purchased goods worth 5,500 Rand. On that day, we already entered that sale. This means that in our books, we've already recorded that N. Corsi owes us 5,500 Rand. This time, if we were to re-record the 5,500, what we would really be saying is that he owes us 11,000 Rand. This is not true. He simply hasn't paid us, and therefore we are charging him extra money in the form of interest as a penalty. This is why we will only deal with interest. Please, please, please be aware in an exam question, it is there to trick you. Let's continue. To calculate interest, we need to use a formula. Amount times percentage amount divided by 100 times the number of months divided by 12 will give us our interest. Let's substitute our numbers into this formula. 5,500 is our amount, times it by the percentage, which is 11%, divide by 100, times it by the number of months, which is 5 months, and divide it by 12. If you punch this into your calculator, you should get an answer of 252,08. You must learn this formula off by heart. Let's look at our first keyword, debtor. Our debtor, N. Corsi, owes us money. He owes us more money in the form of interest because he did not pay his account. It is overdue. This means that we need to increase debtor's control for N. Corsi because as our debtor, he now owes us more money. Debtor's control is an asset, and our asset is now increasing. We will increase his account by 252 Rand and 8 cents because this is the interest amount that he owes us. Remember, this is the interest amount that we have just calculated. If we look at the account and golden rule, we can see that assets increase on the debit side. Therefore, the account to be debited will be called debtor's control, and specifically N. Corsi. Our assets will increase by 252 Rand and 8 cents. Remember, it only increases by the amount that we are charging for interest. Let's look at the word interest. Interest is a form of income. Income affects our equity. It increases our equity. If we look at the account and golden rule, we can see that equity increases on the credit side. Therefore, the account to be credited will be called interest income, and our equity will increase by 252 Rand and 8 cents. Let's try the next one. The owner took goods home for his son. The goods had a cost price of 2,500 and a sales price of 7,000. Let's look at our key words. Owner and goods. But there's something else in this question that needs to be dealt with. Cost price and sales price. An owner of a company will always take goods out of his company at cost price. Remember in an exam to always use cost price and ignore the sales price. It's there to trick you. Let's go back and look at our keywords. Our first keyword was owner. When an owner takes things out of his company, we call this drawings. Drawings is a type of equity account, and it will decrease our equity. If we look at the account and golden rule, we can see that equity decreases on the debit side. Therefore, the account to be debited will be called drawings. We have already said that drawings affects our equity by decreasing it. Therefore, we will go to the equity column and decrease it by 2,500. Let's look at our next keyword, goods. Generally, when you see the word goods, you immediately think purchase. Goods are classified as a purchase. Purchase affects my equity. Therefore, the account that we will deal with will be called purchase. But the company is not actually purchasing anything from another entity. The company is selling, or rather giving, the goods to the owner, and therefore we will treat this as if it were a sale, but we will still call the account a purchase. This transaction may seem confusing to some. However, it is an exception to the general rule, and it is examinable. If you're struggling to understand this one, rather just learn it off by heart, parrot fashion. Whenever an owner takes goods home, you will deal with drawings, and you will deal with a purchase that will be treated as a sale. Let's see what I mean. If we look at the accounting golden rule, we can see that equity increases on the credit side. Therefore, the account to be credited will be called purchases. Because we are treating this as a sale, however, our equity will not decrease, it will increase by 2,500. If we look at this using the accounting equation, we can now see that our assets of 0 are equal to our equity, which is minus 2,500 plus 2,500. The minus 2,500 and the positive 2,500 cancel each other out and equal 0, and therefore our accounting equation balances. Let's look at the next question. Furniture was purchased on credit from PP Furnishers for 55,000 Rand. A deposit of 10,000 Rand was paid immediately, and the outstanding balance is still due to PP Furnishers. Let's break this question down into the different amounts that we are dealing with. 55,000 is the full amount. This is the value of the furniture. 10,000 is the deposit that we are paying. This is cash which immediately leaves our bank. 45,000 is the outstanding balance. This is the amount which we owe to our creditor, and this account will be called creditors control. How did we get the 45,000, you ask? Simple. Take the full amount of 55,000, subtract the 10,000 Rand deposit, and you'll be left with a 45,000 Rand outstanding balance. Let's take a closer look. Furniture can be classified as an asset. When we purchase this furniture, we are gaining an asset, which means our asset will increase. If we look at the accounting golden rule, we can see that assets increase on the debit side. Therefore, our account to be debited will be called office equipment, and more specifically, furniture. We have gained an asset, so our assets column will increase by 55,000 Rand. Let's continue with the question. Let's look at the next keyword, bank. Bank is also an asset, but this time because we are paying a deposit, the money is leaving our bank. This means that our asset is decreasing. If we look at the accounting golden rule, we can see that assets decrease on the credit side. Therefore, the account to be credited will be called bank. We have already determined that bank is an asset and that it will be decreasing. Therefore, we will go to the assets column and decrease it by 10,000 Rand, which is the amount that we paid as a deposit. We can see that these amounts are not equal. Let's look at this using the accounting equation. 55,000 minus 10 equals 0 plus 0. Well, 55 subtract 10 leaves us with 45,000, and we can see this definitely does not equal 0. Therefore, our accounting equation does not balance. We need to continue. We can see that we actually need 3 transactions for this to balance. Let's look at the 45,000 Rand outstanding balance. We already said we owe this amount to our creditor and that our account will be called creditors control. Creditors control is a type of liability. When we owe more money to our creditors, our liabilities increase. If we look at the accounting golden rule, we can see that liabilities increase on the credit side. Therefore, the account to be credited will be called creditors control, and more specifically, PP furnishes. Now we must go to the liabilities column and increase it by 45,000. Let's take a look at this again with the accounting equation. Assets equals equity plus liabilities. We can see that 55,000 subtract 10,000 is now equal to 0 plus 45,000. This is because 55 subtract 10 is in fact 45. Our accounting equation now balances. When you have finished answering your exam paper, your answer should look something like the following. You need to have drawn up the columns for account debited, account credited, assets, equity, and liabilities. Remember that under the columns account debited and account credited, you will only find words. Under the columns headed assets, equity, and liabilities, you will only find numbers. Remember that you need to show the increase or the decrease by using a plus or a minus in front of each number. The column to the far left is filled with numbers which represent the date that each transaction occurred on. We have now finished the first section of the accounting equation. You should go through this again to make sure you fully understand. Then test your knowledge in our questions section. You can download past papers and answers and watch the video lectures to mark yourself and see what you got right and what you got wrong. Then continue with the accounting equation part 2. Good luck with your studies!